What's up, guys? Out here with another video, and I was having a conversation yesterday, and the subject of reparations came up. And reparations, is reparations a biblical thing or not? And sorry about that. Turn that off so I'm not getting too much background noise. But yeah, so the subject of reparations came up, and I made the statement that reparations is unbiblical. As it really is. You won't find, um, you know, any passages that promises or tell someone that they should expect reparations of any kind, any type of payback or retribution from anyone that has wronged them, especially not in the New Testament. We don't see any examples of that in the New Testament. Now, what people like to go to, and what I've heard, especially from guys like Eric Mason, is that reparations should be given, especially to black people, because reparations were given to the people of Israel back in ancient Egypt. And we all know the story after the people of Israel were leaving Egypt. The people of Israel plundered the Egyptians, and they took whatever they wanted and they left, right? They took all types of silver, gold, all types of things, and they left. Now, a lot of people think that just because that happened during that particular time, that is supposed to be something that is normative, especially for today. And this is the common argument that is being used to support biblical reparations. But, however, when we go back to Genesis 15, that promise was actually made to Abraham. It wasn't made to all mankind. God had told Abraham that his people were going to suffer 400 years in a land that was not theirs. And when they come out, they were going to come out with great possession. So, therefore, when we see the people of Israel leaving Egypt and we're seeing them plundering the Egyptians, that is prophecy being fulfilled. That is a promise being fulfilled by God Almighty Himself. So a lot of people like to try to use that and say, well, this is why black people in America should receive reparations. And I wouldn't just say just black people, but I think that people are saying that anyone who has suffered under America should have, some type of reparations and stuff like that. Now, however, there are people who have gotten reparations in America. I think the Japanese ended up getting reparations, for example, and that was because of, I think it was the Pearl Harbor situation. So when during that time of like World War II, after the Pearl Harbor situation, the United States rounded up people of Asian descent, especially Japanese people, rounded them up, put them in camps and stuff. Not like concentration camps, but just rounded them up because the United States didn't know who was an agent and who was working for the Japanese government and who didn't. So they ended up rounding those people up, taking them from their homes and stuff, and putting them in camps. And then after the whole war and everything was over, they let them go, and apparently they gave them reparations. And I don't know what the details were with that, so I can't fully explain how much it was or speak on it. But a lot of people say that this is another example of why blacks in America should have reparations. Now, I'm not totally against reparations. I feel that if there is a system put in place to where if they can figure it out to say, they're going to give each black person who is a descendant of a slave, you know, however they can figure that out. If they can figure that out and it makes sense, then I would say, okay, if that's something that they want to do for the country, then, I mean, I'm not going to be, opposed to, I'm not going to be against it. I'm not going to say that a person should not receive reparations. But when you say that we as blacks in America deserve reparations because of what happened to our ancestors, and you're trying to use Bible verses to support that, that is unbiblical. That's the problem that I have. I don't have a problem if the country decides to give reparations. I have a problem when somebody says that the country has a duty or an obligation based on scripture, which we don't have any examples of, or we don't have any scriptures to support that, any evidence to support that in the Bible. That's the problem that I have. And the reason why I have a problem with that is because when you're telling people, when you're promising that God should be doing something for us as a people because of what was done to our ancestors, you're totally missing the point of man's sin and God sending down his son to redeem us from the curse that had been placed upon us. And what I mean by that is in Genesis 3, there was the fall of man. And we all know the story about the fall of man bringing sin and destruction into the planet, onto the earth. And we see all of the things that have happened even today. There's a lot of things happening. Even when you look at the transatlantic slave trade, one of the most egregious atrocities that's happened here on American soil. So I'm not going to get too much into that because I can go down a rabbit hole with that subject. But then to turn around and say that God now owes us something because of what our ancestors went through, and we need to reap the benefit of that, or the government needs to make that right. There's so many problems with that, because first of all, God don't owe you anything. Okay, everything that happens to us on this planet is well, just, and deserved. Okay, so we all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. All of us deserve hell, point blank, period. There's not one of us by our own will can determine if we're going to be in eternity with God or not. None of us can stand before the Lord and say that we are righteous and that God needs to give us something, or God needs to pay us for something that happened. If God decided to bring judgment on people, on human beings, by using the transatlantic slave trade, by using the Holocaust and all of the other atrocities that's happened here, just not in this country, but in the world, then God is free to do that. He does what he chooses. He does what he pleases. And we're not to question that. The only thing that we are supposed to do is to be obedient to his word. Spread the gospel. Warn people about the coming of Jesus Christ. We're supposed to rejoice in persecution when people are persecuting us because of our faith. And what happens is that when you're promising people, or you have this mindset that someone has wronged me and now they need to, grant this right to me. For instance, when we're talking about this whole thing concerning reparations, now people want to look at the United States and say, well, the United States owes us. And anybody who disagrees, then you're a racist if you're white. If you're black and you disagree, then you're a sellout. You're an Uncle Tom. You're a this. You're a that. You're teaching slave Christianity, or you're teaching this white Eurocentric Christianity. And what happens is that when people don't get what they expect from the government because somebody has taken scriptures and ripped them out of context and said that you should get this based on scripture, what eventually happens is that when people don't start to see those things being fulfilled, then they start to want to question the Bible. Well, we got to question the Bible. Well, we got to question this, and we got to question God, and all of this nonsense. Instead of saying that, no, I need to look at myself and see, where do I stand with God? Let me stop questioning God because of stuff that I wanted that is not in the Bible, that was never in the Bible, things that never came to me that I was expecting. Let me question the things that I've expected. Let me see, was that something that was promised in the Bible? Because if it's not, then I can't sit back and question God for something that he didn't say. And this is why the churches have been so weak. This is why we've been having a lot of people leaving the faith. It's one of the major reasons. It's because we've been promising people stuff, especially in the black community. God's going to do this. God's going to do that. This person should do this. This person should do that. We've been wrong. This person should be giving us this. And then when those things don't happen, then people want to question God. You want to question the scriptures. This is why we're having so many problems with all of these cults and all of these different black movements, all of these identity movements. You know, people around here telling us that the Council of Nicaea made the Bible and, you know, books was removed from the Bible and they're talking about the Apocrypha. And then when you try to tell them the reason why the Apocrypha was taken back out of the Bible as it was added, that they don't even want to receive it. Because somebody been telling them that there's been a hidden history. All of this stuff has been hidden. We got to question the Bible. We got to question this. And it's all based on their false presuppositions. Because somebody promised them that God was going to do something and it didn't come to pass. That's why I go so hard against this stuff when people are just teaching falsehood. It's false. This whole idea of biblical reparations, false. All of this identity stuff, false. You talking about God got a chosen people in this black people, false. Because you don't find that in the scripture. And we got so many people who don't read the scriptures. They're so bent on watching people on the internet, not reading that Bible for themselves, and not even challenging what they're being heard, even if it's from the opposition. A lot of people just want to argue. They just want to fight. They don't want to look at the Bible and see what thus says the Lord. This is the problem that the people of ancient Israel had. They wanted to go by their own presuppositions. That's why in Isaiah 1, started at verse 13. That's why God said, don't bring me any more vain offerings. He was like, your incense is an abomination to me. He was like, don't pray to me, because when you pray to me, I'm covering my eyes and ears. I don't want to even hear it. Because these folks were just operating by themselves. They was operating so far out of the will of God, and then they still thought that they were somehow self-righteous because they still did all of these traditions and rituals. And that's the same thing that we're falling into today. That's why, again, biblical reparations is totally false. You don't find that in the Bible. So if you're a black person and you're expecting that God is going to try to change the hearts of America to make sure that we get our reparations, false. You're in falsehood. You need to repent of that. And I hate to be this harsh, but some of this stuff got to be said. If you think that God is going to do something for you because of what your ancestors went through, false. Who are you to question God? Who are you to tell God what he should do because of something that happened to you or your ancestors? You really got some nerve. And this is the problem that we have nowadays. You know, people don't know who God is. You don't know how much in debt you are to God to even try to even think about God restoring something to you. You guys need to read that book of read the book of Job. That's your assignment. Read the book of Job and see how God treated Job, the most righteous man who had ever walked the face of the earth. But anyway, man, that's enough of my rambling. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. You know, as always. Do you think that reparations is something that is biblical and that is something that we need to be fighting for here in this country as black people? Or do you happen to believe that reparations is it's a non-biblical thing? God doesn't owe us anything. No one on this planet owes us anything. The transatlantic slave trade was a result of sin, not skin, not because, we had some evil white people that came down and they are the result of these Nephilim and all of these demonic spirits and entities. No, it's because of the result of man's sin. Man's sin is what drove the transatlantic slave trade. And the only way that we can live in the will of God is continue to spread the message of Christ, the good news of Jesus Christ, and how we can all be washed clean in his blood. But no matter what you guys think, let me know. Like, rate, share, comment, subscribe. hit that notification bell, and you guys have a blessed day.